Oh, I'm back again, and this time we're talking about the new moon in Sagittarius. It's happening on the 19th of December, 2025. And if you didn't catch my video about Juno, you might want to look into that because there's going to be some related information. Juno is in the mix with the new moon this time. And Juno will continue to be uh, going into the solstice. It's interesting times, and there's already been some events that are going down that basically tell me that Juno is very much involved. So, but now we're talking about the new moon in Sagittarius. And I should get to sharing chart. I hope that everyone is having a nice holiday leading up to the holiday, Christmas stuff. You know, I say Christmas because that's what I've always celebrated, but you can insert your chosen beautiful religion in there. Uh, that's one of the things that I'll be talking about is that this new moon in Sagittarius here is very much about faith and religion. And because Sagittarius is the sign that is about organized religion, uh, it is not the spirituality itself. It is about the organized religion, the rules, the social um, what's socially acceptable within your chosen religion. Very much what Sagittarius is about. So, um, and this new moon is going to be in a square with the Saturn and Neptune in Pisces moving forward, inching closer to the 0 degree Aries point. And Neptune and Saturn in Pisces has been very prominent in our culture right now. All of the things is that are being talked about on the news and very much in everybody's local communities have a lot to do with this Saturn and Neptune conjunction continuing in Pisces. Um, there's been a lot of flooding. That's Neptunian. And Saturn being there makes it actually manifest. And so Saturn being there is actually the key for the manifestation of all these Neptunian and Piscean events. Um, and all of that is in, all of this actually down here in Sagittarius is in a square to the Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. And it is presenting challenges in our society because Sagittarius's ruler is Jupiter over here in Cancer. And so how everything is going to manifest with this square between Sagittarius and Pisces. How of that is going to manifest has everything to do with Jupiter's position in Cancer. And so these issues, the themes that are rising for this new moon, are going to have to do with family, ancestry, And um, it's hard to separate sometimes the idea of religion and family because our family usually passes down whatever religion we accept, take on. Um, it, that's what feels normal to us. And so Jupiter in Cancer right now, which is dispositing this new moon, is really talking about our accepted, socialized, uh, the religions. Um, and all of that is a little bit, well, this is the time of year that we're celebrating a bunch of different religions, celebrations. And most of these religions have attached their celebration to the winter solstice. And so this, in my opinion, is actually the original celebration, is the solstice. And we can see how religion either it adheres to or veers away from this celebration of solstice, which is really, about accepting and surrendering to the darkest days, the longest nights. And as we're going through this new moon, which is a dark moment, we'll be moving right into the solstice just in a few days. And there's a lot of ancestry that is around, it surrounds the solstice. There's all kinds of different ways that our ancestors would celebrate or endure, come together. Because when I say celebrate, they're really celebrating the fact that um, they worked so hard during the longest days so that they could survive during the shortest days. And that's something to celebrate in its own way, right? In a very quiet and respectful way, right? Solstice is about respecting those long nights. And what is the magic in that when it is actually so hard to get through sometimes, you know? We think about where where does our mind go during those longest nights? There's probably some darkness coming up. And one of the reasons why is because this new moon in Sagittarius is really having us focus on um, the things that have been passed down through our family, lineage. And, a big part of that is religion, the things that we believe in. Um, any kind of belief system is like a religion. And, you know, there is another very interesting element that's coming into this new moon. And I wanted to talk a little bit or a lot about this comet that is going through our solar system. Because now is the time when it is relevant astrologically. And so the I th 3-eye atlas, uh, third eye atlas, uh, it came into our solar system passing by Mars. And then it retrogrades. It's been retrograding through the zodiac after it entered our solar system. It's already gone past the sun, perihelion, And now it's going towards Jupiter as it starts to leave. But on the day of the new moon is the day that um, scientists and everybody has been saying that we'll be able to see this comet from Earth finally. So isn't that interesting? And it's heading towards Jupiter. One of the ways to find it is by finding Jupiter and then looking around that area. I think that you'll still need a telescope or some kind of aid to be able to see it. It may not be visible to the naked eye, so far as what I've researched. And so that's really interesting, in my opinion, that this new moon is really bringing into focus the meaning behind this comet, or whatever you want to call it, because people haven't exactly unified in saying what they think it is. But for the most part, we can call it an interstellar object, which is very synchronous right now. And again, with this interstellar object going through our solar system, there's extra energy coming into focus. And um, as the comet goes into Cancer, it will be at about 10 degrees Cancer as it is like going through that sign, the sign in the zodiac. Um, it it will retrograde this way to like 10 degrees Cancer as it's leaving our solar system. And that's kind of a big difference between where Jupiter is and will be, but we're looking at it as an extra special event. So I'm going to say that it's conjunct Jupiter because it's just extraordinary. Extraordinary. So what is this actually indicating? What is this actually triggering? This interstellar object? Because we still have Jupiter and Chiron locked into a square also, which is about trauma, wounding, and our ancestry, our past. And one of the things that I've considered with regards to the interstellar object and the meaning of it going by Jupiter and being in Cancer as it leaves is, and in our view at that point, right? Because that's how astrology works also, is like when things are in view, that's when the message really shines. And this interstellar object could be about what our origins really are. I know people have said that, but astrologically, it's really indicating that. And with Jupiter there, so Jupiter is the Roman version of the Greek Zeus. And Zeus is known for all of the, you know, children, all of Zeus's children. And so there is what seems to be, and what I think I can say with some kind of confidence, is that it could be like a seeding uh, moment. And I know people have said weird things about this interstellar object having pieces of it come off. Uh, and when it reaches Jupiter, because one of the other things about the object going by Jupiter is that it's going to be very close to Jupiter's hill radius. And Jupiter's hill radius is just means that it's the radius of its gravitational pull. And I doubt that Jupiter will actually bring this interstellar object into it, but it could alter its course a little bit and come a little even closer than we thought and projected, which is really interesting. The thinking that the gravitational pull of Jupiter could be peeling away some of the material, the actual matter of the interstellar object, and therefore it actually being like a seeding event, right? And this is just hypothetical stuff still because we haven't reached that moment. But it's all stuff about the potentiality of what, could be happening. And all of this starts really getting triggered by this new moon. So the new moon being in Sagittarius is, um, you know, bringing about some wisdom, because that's another thing that Sagittarius is about, wisdom and rebirth also. And that's one of the very likely indications is a rebirth of some kind. And I did want to talk about Juno also here because Juno is conjunct the sun and the moon for this new moon. And Juno has been very active, being so close to the sun and the moon, also being conjunct Venus. And the moon had to conjunct both of these as she was coming into this new moon position with the sun. And so there is something in it for us with regards to our values, our upgrading our values, and possibly having a wiser perspective on our values. Because as things start to speed up and quicken with regards to, mm, we could call it war activity or just the disruption that is continuing to happen. We can see that our values are probably going to become more wise. They'll change in a way to where we'll be like, oh, I used to think this, and then it's obvious to me now that that was the wrong way to think, and I'm just using a loose, very general uh, way of saying it because there's going to be a lot to unpack, so much to unpack for this new moon that's going to just arrive. It's just going to be there all of a sudden, and you're going to have to face your own value system, which was given to you by your family, right? Your culture, which is an indicator of what your family is like. And Jupiter, um, the ruler of Sagittarius, is a social planet. Social justice is a big buzzword for Sagittarius and Jupiter. And I believe that social justice is going to be possibly turned up on its head for some reason. And not, it's just a matter of evolution because we have um, it's like a moment of reckoning. And the one thing, so I know I keep putting this off, but I will say this. Juno being there indicates madness. And if you watch my video about Juno, you'll see why in so many different stories that madness is a theme for Juno. Yes. And so while madness has been upon us, there's probably going to be a moment where, like a trigger moment where we see this madness. It's going to affect the what we value. And this new moon is really going to set the stage, because we'll have a uh, full moon comes after, that'll be Capricorn season, and um, this new moon is really setting the stage for our quest to find the truth about our origins because it's been driving everyone crazy otherwise. And that is, I know that's a huge statement, but we've been primed for it. And ultimately, Neptune and Saturn, when they finally arrive at 0 degrees of Aries in next February, will have gone through things up till that moment that will all of a sudden the energy that is building towards that 0 degrees Aries, uh, the 0 point, and it can be released in a way. Uh, Astrologers out there keep saying, "Oh, civil war," because that's what happened last time Neptune went into Aries. And, we can look at patterns and see what rhymes, but I really don't foresee things going down exactly the same as they did the last time Neptune went into Aries because we are evolutionary beings and we have evolved a lot. We really have in these many, many years since the Civil War. And we have an eye for how, we have an eye for it and our gut to feel when we're being manipulated into fighting with each other. And this moment that I am looking at with this new moon, the trigger, and our quest for finding the knowledge of where we came from, that could really supersede any kind of civil war because we may all be in the same kind of shock together about where we come from, where we really come from. There's been lots of talk about disclosing certain things about the nature of our universe, aliens and stuff, right? And all of that is an expansion of knowledge. which is another keyword for Sagittarius, is expansion of knowledge, expansion, wisdom. Um, but there is also a high probability because Sagittarius of things being made up. And so there is that possibility also that instead of the truth, we get some other kind of skewed version of the truth. And it ends up unifying us in one way or another because we're all being told the same thing. And that's just, mm, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's more probable that we're actually going to find out some truth. And this whole year, 2025, has been about a certain amount of truth coming out. We've learned some things in the United States and around the world about things that we didn't think was actually going to come out this soon. All kinds of conspiracy type things that are being talked about in a way that were completely swept under the rug before. And um, so it really does seem like we've been primed for more truth. And, ultimately, when I look at these charts these days, it's hard to say that they're going to actually be able to lie to us uh, more than they already are without getting caught. Caught up, caught. Uh, it seems like it'll be the straw that breaks the camel's back. The last lie. That could be what's going on here because Neptune and Saturn are still in Pisces. You know, because Jupiter co-rules traditionally Sagittarius and Pisces. So this is why when I'm saying that this new moon is extraordinary, and especially with that interstellar object in our solar system heading towards Jupiter, it feels like something different has to happen because this, energy that can't be created or destroyed needs to go somewhere. And the North Node being in Pisces, it's almost like the sign off, that last signature saying, yes, the ultimate truth will be available because it'll ultimately help us spiritually evolve. Because Pisces is about true spirituality, whereas Sagittarius is about the laws and rules and regulations of a religion that encapsulates a spirituality. Yeah. Another thing that I was just thinking about, Juno being in the mix there, is it's about promises, and contracts, and we'll see whether or not these promises and contracts are being upheld or not. Because that is really what Juno cares about. Juno ultimately just wants you to live up to your promises, you know? And especially if you wrote your signature on that dotted line, committing on paper to something. And that right there is where she's going to come down on whoever or whatever isn't adhering to their promises. There was a very tragic event in Hollywood, and a lot of people looked at Rob Reiner's chart and mentioned a bunch of different things. But nobody mentioned the fact that he was having a Juno return at the time. Promises were broken, contracts were broken, and that's why his life didn't continue. So that is ultimately what I saw. And I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that I have a different view on what I see astrologically. Um, because a lot of people are saying that um, there's like Neptune and Mars involved. And I'm like, yeah, totally. But Juno, oh my God, Juno is harsh. And, I could go further into talking about what I think, but I should probably not because it's really just my opinion. But ultimately, I feel like right now, contracts, promises, they're very important. Don't promise things that you can't uphold. And if you can't uphold a promise that you already made, why did you even why did you even try to commit? What was the motivation behind that? Because ultimately, uh, it was probably some kind of manipulation of some kind. And here we see again the conflict between Juno and Jupiter. There's no, it's like they're at war with each other through proxy. They're going at each other through a proxy element. And I believe that's really that Neptune Saturn conjunction up there, up here in Pisces. That's really the proxy. This is where the action's happening. Obviously, because um, Jupiter is in a trine to Saturn and ultimately Neptune. And then we've got the new moon in a square to Neptune and ultimately Saturn. And so there is a lot of connection to this Neptune Saturn. It's just continuing to bring uh, more manifestation of the illusion. Uh, what else? Um, the South Node is in a square to Mercury, and Mercury is finally in Sagittarius, getting past its shadow from the retrograde. Hallelujah. I think I'm thinking a little bit more clearly as that last retrograde really was messing with my mind. But that's okay because I was trying to just observe that confusion. And I didn't seem to be so stuck. But with this new moon, Mercury being in a square to the south node that's in Virgo, and Mercury being the ruler of that south node, is another element where there is going to be the first peak of awareness to the challenges. Again, where there is a suggestion that we could be like peeking behind the curtain, um, being illuminated by some kind of truth. Uh, There's a lot of indications that some kind of truth, wisdom, illumination, uh, what else? Mm, right, rebirth, rebirth. That was what I was thinking about. That maybe we can start to see the beginning of how what is going to be the rebirth. What is going to be rebirthed? Yeah, I think ultimately, as time goes on, obviously we'll see these things play out. But it's something to consider that there is a new start happening somehow, some way, somewhere for everyone. And a good indication as to where this is happening is not only looking in your chart and finding where this Neptune and Sagittarius, I mean, Saturn conjunction is going to be at the 0 degree point of Aries. Like where is 0 degrees Aries in your chart? This is going to be a major evolutionary push in that house, that theme for you. And if you don't know anything about astrology, obviously I'm here. You can contact me, and I would love to go over your chart with you to see what is going on with this conjunction. And the other place to look in your chart is going to be at that in well, all of Cancer, really, because you've got the interstellar object that's going to be leaving the solar system at 10 degrees of Cancer. And we've got Jupiter here in Cancer, which will be retrograding until, let's see, um, does Jupiter. It's not very soon at all, is it? Let me just take a quick look on the chart. Because I'm really curious. It's going to be retrograding. Wow. So it's a 15 degrees Cancer. So yeah, Jupiter will get a lot closer to that 10 degrees of Cancer after the retrograde is done in March, it looks like. March something. I've got March 13th here, but it may not be the exact day. So yeah, there definitely is something there with the interstellar object and Jupiter coming closer and closer together. Um, that's great. Mm, let's see what. Let me. I just have to figure out how to go back to the one I was on. I think I'm back to it. Yes. Okay. I recently, well, a few months ago, I decided to invest in um solar fire as a um chart creator maker, and so I'm still figuring out how to do some of the functions on it. I think I'm doing pretty good though. Sorry about the minor technical things, but I just wanted to see. So Jupiter is not gonna be going direct anytime soon. So we'll just have to expect Jupiter to just keep going backwards through Cancer. And so all of Cancer really is somewhere, it's something to look at in your chart. What house is Cancer for you in your chart? And that will indicate what the themes are that are being triggered while the interstellar object is coming through. So that's something to consider. I know a lot of people know how to pull up their chart, and you basically could just see what house in Placidus. Uh, if you like to use whole sign, that's fine, but I like to use Placidus because it just really seems to be more intricate. And and then you see what house Cancer, is on the cusp of. And in this chart, it's the first house. So basically, um, the first and the 12th house, really. So basically, in this chart, if it were a person, we would be looking at themes of the identity, self-identity, your physical body, the way that you look, the way you present yourself, your first impressions, um, and it's sort of like your like spark of life, essentially. And the 12th house would be what is hidden in the background of everything, uh, what is in like your psyche, um, the unconscious realm. And that's just a very small example of what you could be looking into. And um, I'm not going to necessarily go through all of the houses because that's something that I can do for you in a private reading very easily. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to know more, then just contact me. I'm uh, available. You can comment on my video or send me an email at aprilthestarwitch@gmail.com. Um, yeah, I'm also on Instagram as April the Star Witch. Uh, yeah, those are the ways to get a hold of me if you are interested in the private reading. Um, yeah. So I'm just looking to see if there was anything very important in, Uranus in opposition to Black Moon Lilith, in a way. That is just another signature of something unexpectedly coming out of the dark, an illumination of something that has been hidden or repressed. And we have all kinds of indications that something is going to be coming out into the open. Truth, wisdom, um, a reckoning of sorts because of Juno. Uh, and don't forget that reckoning is definitely upon us. Uh, I'd say as a whole culture, as a social web, because it's happening in Sagittarius. And that's a very, social, like I said before, social justice. And so we'll see how all that plays out because it's very, uh, it just depends on who you are and what you believe in, right? Sagittarius themes, as to whether you believe that a certain kind of social justice is fair or not. Yep. And since we're not all on the same page, um, only a sort of collective sort of reckoning of sorts with regards to our values will unify us. I mean, that's not the only thing, but that's a huge indicator in this chart. Yeah. So, yeah. And I'm just talking about the new moon today because I would like to just create more space for creating other videos that are about other planetary events. And just going over the week felt like it wasn't really cutting it for me. So just looking at the new moon and the full moons coming up. So in a couple weeks, I'll do a video about the full moon in, let's see, that'll be Cancer, um, Cancer and Capricorn will be that'll be the next axis, and that's it. Like I said, this new moon is building up to something that is going to just get further along, more and more like in our face. And I think it's about going to be about where we come from, Earthlings. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this. And yay, that was fun. Thanks for joining me again. Hopefully, you got something out of this. And obviously, if you are thinking about getting a reading, just go ahead and contact me and we'll go back and forth and we'll just figure it out. So, all right. Thanks again. Have a good week. Have a happy new moon. All right. Bye.